Velkommen alle sammen. Are there no women in Valhalla, or the proper name for it would be Valhåll? Is it just a place for men who die in a fury of battle, as we are all told, and then they go to the afterlife and fight and feast with your boys every day for the rest of eternity, with no women in sight? Well, that doesn't exactly sound like an afterlife any man would want to, at least any straight man, but is all this true anyway? Are there no women in Valhåll? And if not, what is the afterlife for women who follow the Old Norse religion? Well, according to all the sources, yes, it's true, the only people who are allowed to go to Valhåll were said to be våpendauder men, as they were called, so men who died from weapons specifically. And we actually have plenty examples of real men who actually were attested as dying and going to Valhåll. The main one is the semi-legendary Helgi. In multiple sources, he was said to go to Valhåll after he died by a spear that Odin gifted to Helgi's rival's son, Dag, who basically assassinated Helgi cowardly. But one definite real historical figure is Eric Bloodaxe, who in different sources say he died different ways. One source he says he was also treacherously assassinated, just like Helgi was. Either way, he died in England while he was king of Northumbria, and as the skaldic poem Eiríksmál says, he goes to Valhåll. We have another one, Håkon the Good, also the great Norwegian king. He died not during battle, but shortly after the Battle of Fitjar from his wounds. Håkon was officially said to be a Christian even, and he still went to Valhåll. So those are just to name a few, but there are many others that we know that were real humans and went to Valhåll, at least according to the sources. The point is, like I said, with those three, that you didn't necessarily have to die in battle, but you did have to die from wounds inflicted from weapons. And you didn't even need to be pagan, you could be Christian and still end up in the Norse afterlife apparently. But you did have to be a man. We have no women ever attested as dying and going to Valhåll, so they would have gone to the alternative afterlives, Hel being the main one, and other realms and areas of Hel. However, we do have some female beings that are mentioned as already being in Valhåll. We have the goddess Freyja, who is said in one poem called Hyndljóð to ride to Valhåll with a völva named Hyndla. Völva, they were real human female seeresses, so in this source it appears women could actually visit Valhåll. And of course we have Freyja's realm, Folkvangr, where this goddess is said to take half the men who die in battle, and Odin gets the other half that are sent to Valhåll. So here it seems that Folkvangr is a parallel afterlife, not in Valhåll, but possibly very close to it. But Freyja is a goddess, not a real human woman. We have some other females that are said to be in Valhåll, namely the Valkyries. In the skaldic poems Eiríksmál and HÁKONARMÓL, they both attest to being there, legendary Valkyries in Valhåll, welcoming the men and serving the drinking horns full of mead. But wait a minute, these Valkyries are still not human women, they are goddess-like divine female beings. Well, that is the part that I don't think is quite right, and it's the whole reason I made this video. See, there's plenty of evidence to say that Valkyries were once real human women that died, and then in the afterlife they became Valkyries that were welcome to Valhåll to be an important part of the afterlife actually. You see, with Valkyries, the lines between spiritual being and real human woman are always very blurry in the sources. We have multiple poems attesting Valkyries as real living humans who lived alongside and even engaged in marriage and romantic relationships and bared children with very real men. Sigrun and Helgi, who I mentioned earlier, are one example of this. But really more importantly, there is a plethora of evidence that women who died in the Norse beliefs, for the most honorable one, they become Disir in the afterlife, which were female goddess-like figures. Women who died could also become the Hamingja and the Fylgja, which were female spiritual entities responsible for watching over and granting good fortune to their descendants. And of course, women could die and become Valkyries in the afterlife, who have many functions, but mainly they are in Valhalla, welcoming the most honorable men who had died by weapons when they come there. I've done long videos on all of these with plenty of sources that I recommend, especially the ladies should check out all these videos. All of these are connected, and there are even theories that Disir, Hamingja, Fylgja, and Valkyries are actually all one and the same. I don't completely believe in that theory, I don't think it's that simple, but I do think there's plenty of info out there to show that the most honorable women who die, they in the afterlife can act as a Fylgja, Hamingja, guardian angel type things, and in the afterlife they can in fact enter Valhåll as Valkyries. Not all women, you couldn't be some dishonorable hoe and expect to enter Valhalla, but the most honorable and noble women, absolutely. The rest may go to Folkvangr or Hel or any of the other regions of the afterlife in the Norse beliefs. I had a great interview with Survive the Jive on all these different afterlife realms. You can check that video out too. Just remember that the Norse beliefs are centered around reincarnation. If you truly love someone, where you spend the afterlife doesn't matter. You may be reborn together in the next life. Just as Helgi and Svava were, Helgi went to Valhalla, and Svava went to Hel, and they died many years apart, but in the next life they were reborn as Helgi Hundingsbana and Kora, who were lovers in their next life too. So that's all for today. Hope that clears some things up. Vi ses nästa gång.